welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back with the Sigma Show. I'm your host, Sigma. Um, Before I get into who's joining me today, even though you can see their faces, there's an audio version to this in case you don't know. So before I get into who's joining me, real quick, we're just gonna go over what our topics for this show is gonna be. By the way, this is episode 21. Didn't mention that earlier. What just happened to Will's camera?
I don't know. It froze on a just beautiful freeze frame.
Like as soon as we start, this stuff occurs. Can he hear us? Maybe he fell asleep just then.
I think he did fall asleep.
Yeah, he's okay. Will is off the call right now. We'll wait for him to come back. But our topics, as I was going into, first up, if you haven't been paying attention to The Simpsons, who can blame you? But recently, they've just aired an episode that showed Homer as a teenager in the 90s. And as many of us know, they've done flashbacks of Homer as a kid before in, like, the 70s and stuff. Because, the show has been on for like 30 plus years or something like that. So really quick, we're just going to talk about, long running series and like how this kind of retcon can hurt or help a series that has gone on for this long. Following that, Sony, as well as a group called RTS, has just bought the Evolution Championship Series, which is a premier fighting game tournament. We all know as Evo. And finally, we'll be talking about PlayStation and their new PS5 VR controllers, which they just announced. Joining me today, as usual, Rexicon Jesse. Wait, I don't hear you anymore.
You don't hear me anymore?
Okay, there you go. Now I hear you.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
Dang, we're getting all the problems out.
Right, exactly. And hopefully, Will has sorted all his stuff out. Joining me is the Will C. Blogs. Welcome, Will.
Oh my goodness. We don't have to acknowledge the technological BS we just went through.
I mean, they
hello.
can see it, so.
Well, for the audio people, just letting you know, nothing happened. I was just vibing. But hello, very excited to talk about today's topics and also probably just be mean to KC. But that's love.
As everyone has come to expect. But thank you guys so much for joining me today. First up, to warm people up, and because it is honestly a very slow news week, some of these topics we may not go into super detail on, but we'll kind of start things off with what we've been playing or watching or reading or listening to, whatever you've been filling your media hole with. That's what we want to know about.
My media hole?
Jesse, Will, anybody have suggestions?
I need an adult first and foremost. What do you mean my media hole?
So, what have you guys been playing, watching, reading, / at all?
I feel like Jesse should take this because he has better hair than me. Because he has hair.
Thank you. Partner and I still been playing Champions Return to Arms on PS2. Freaking love that game.
Okay. What is that? I don't know if I've ever heard of that.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
What's that?
It is a up to 4 players if you have the multi-tap, which I do. Like hack and slash RPG set in the Champions of Norath, or set in Norath, which is the EverQuest world.
Okay.
It is just dumb fun. You just go around, you shoot magic at stuff, you hit things with big weapons, you level up your stuff, you hit things harder, you shoot bigger magic.
So it's that satisfying action RPG loop.
Yeah, it's real dumb and it's real fun, and I love it. It's a great co-op game. So we've been playing that together.
Is it? Would you call it like a Diablo clone, or is it have a lot more going for it?
It's less like click based, more like controller input. Like you have to block more, you can evade, attack spells. It's, I would say, different than Diablo. It's not Diablo like.
All right, yeah, because Diablo I feel like can be a little automatic.
Yeah, it feels if Diablo is a step removed from like MMO style click wait thing.
Yeah,
Norath or Champions is another step removed from Diablo away from that. So like you can see some similarities, but it's better in my opinion.
Is that PS2 game the latest one? Because the name Champions of Norath is familiar, but like that particular game and that lineage, is that the last one that they made, or are there newer ones out of the series?
As far as I know, it's the last one. Champions of Norath was the first one, and this was the sequel.
Okay.
But yeah, I think the studio tried making some other ones. They made one for PS3, I think some of the same developers, named Dark Kingdom, which is mostly dumb and only a little fun.
More dumb than fun. Okay.
Yeah, it's all right, but I got it for $3 at a thrift store, and that was the correct price. And there's been a few others that just haven't seemed to really capture the magic like that one did.
Okay.
And
Nice.
then, yeah, my friend Rainbow Blight, who I stream with on Thursdays, we were talking about Phasmophobia, and he was like, I'm tired of talking about this. Here, I bought you a copy. And we started playing that. Boy, howdy, what a hoot. I understand the hype.
Wow. Yeah, because I don't get it. Even from watching it, like I really can't tell what's happening.
I was about to say I played that with my friend's PC, and I'm like, this is utter garbage water. What are we doing?
Oh, blasphemy. It's wonderful.
I just can't get into it because maybe we don't have the proper crew. You know what I mean? That's definitely a key factor when playing that, because when you're playing with other people, they're like, hey, are you doing this? Or they're not even communicating. I'm like, dog, words, use it. Come on.
Yeah. If you don't have someone communicating, or if they think everyone should know what they're doing, like I can see that being a terrible game. But him and I have a really good rapport, and we like talking and like doing fun stuff, so it works out really well. So that'll probably be our Thursday night stream for a while, which he recommended now renaming to the Twitching Hour until we get bored of Phasmophobia.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I like maybe I just need to pay more attention, because like at a glance, like I stop into your stream often, and when that was on, it's like I just couldn't wrap my head around what you guys were even doing. So I probably just tuned out after a little bit. But
what have you been playing,
in the chat? Blue says, "Have a great show, guys. Thank you so much."
Blue.
Oh, where you at, bro? Come on. Is he gonna be in the Smash thing?
Well, hold on. Are you done, Jesse? Like you finished your?
So my only thing that I have a personal conundrum happening. I absolutely hated Godzilla 2014. I saw it in theaters.
That's the one with Bryan Cranston in it, right?
For like 30 seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
And then has Guy from Kick-Ass in it way too much. I hated that movie. I was bored by Kong Skull Island. Nothing about King of the Monsters made me want to see it at all. And I cannot shake the feeling that I want to watch Godzilla versus Kong. But nothing has changed. I don't know why. That's what's bothering me. The only thing I found, I looked at the names of the people attached to it. The only thing I found is the director directed You're Next, which I did like. But that's the only thing I've seen of his that I liked. And everything else is like a bunch of people that were connected to the other movies that I hated, which makes me more weary of it. But I don't know why I want to see it.
You're just a gluttony for punishment, that's all.
Hogs and
but I'm not.
There are people who liked Godzilla 2014. I mean, I haven't seen it, but yeah, I've only heard bad things about it.
I saw it in theaters. Oh my god.
Yeah, me too. What an absolute waste. I was mad.
I mean, my best guess is they put together a good trailer. Like that trailer actually looked pretty cool, seeing like Godzilla and King Kong go back to back. And then the other thing is just the cultural implication of those two, IPs facing off. Like Godzilla is a Japanese staple and King Kong's kind of an American icon, right? So to have them go face to face is kind of like this battle of ideals, West versus East. And just the idea of that is probably a lot more exciting than what the movie may end up turning out to be, because it is going to be a giant CG fest, right?
Yeah. And I want it to be a giant CG fest. But that's what I wanted out of Godzilla 14 and King Kong Skull Island, and it wasn't.
So here's the bigger question.
Right.
Do you enjoy monster movies in general?
Oh, absolutely.
So then that maybe it's just the modern takes.
Yeah, what was the last monster movie that you actually was like, oh, this was great, I love this?
In like recent times, I mean, I love Pacific Rim. I thought that was fantastic.
I actually haven't seen that either. You know what it is? I'm not a big fan of the whole Kaizo thing. Like big giant things fighting each other. Kaiju, right? What did I say? Kaizo? That's like the super hard Mario levels, right? Yeah, Kaiju. Ever since I was a kid, like Power Rangers was like my favorite show on TV for a long time. But I always hated when they jumped into Megazords because like it turned dumb. It's like now it's like slow.
You
Like
know,
I want the kung fu moves. I don't want the big like rubber suit battle. You know. So like
you
I've
want to see
never
him
really
like
been into
tear
it.
paper buildings in half?
Like no, it doesn't do anything for me. So I've kind of steered away from them, but I have heard good things about Pacific Rim, so I have wanted to check it out. I just haven't gotten around to it. And yeah, none of the big monster stuff interests me much either. But like you were saying, like watching the internet kind of go crazy, like picking sides, like oh Godzilla can win because of this, that, and the third, or King Kong can win because he can use tools, he has thumbs. Like that's really funny to me, and like that actually does kind of get me excited. So I kind of get where you're coming from with that excitement.
I can't. I'm disconnected from it entirely. What the hell? Who cares? I know I'm gonna sound like a douche for that, but like who cares?
I mean,
Like
that's.
it's literally just it's I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jesse.
I was gonna say that's how I feel like I should feel based on the track record,
Well,
but I don't, and I don't know why.
I maybe because a part of you, an inner child, wants to see something amazing happen from it.
That
You know?
that could be it.
No idea.
I mean, as long as
I
they
didn't
keep
know this was a
making it-
debate though.
No, I mean it's not a debate. It's just
No, because I now you said I think I've seen someone complain about talking about who would win. Like it had to have been trending on Twitter, and it's like
right.
this
Yeah,
is
that's
really
the
a
debate
conversation.
because it's the verses. They're putting them against each other, like the same thing
Yeah.
that you do on the internet between all sorts of different IPs that don't actually belong together. These two fit better than most, right? Though they did have to raise the
Make King
size
Kong.
of King Kong. Yeah, like they had to like
Yeah,
soup him up a
2 or
bit to
3
even
times.
make him stand a
Gotta
chance.
hit that
so-
gym.
right. They claimed in Kong Skull Island he was a baby or something, right?
Oh yeah, it was something like that.
So I mean, there's some sense to it, but yeah, in the meta narrative, they had to basically even the odds a bit. So it does seem Godzilla's heavily favored, which makes it a little exciting if he should pull one out. He's the underdog now, right? But just like Will said, who actually cares? Nobody does.
So you said you want to fill a media box and you want to pull one out. Is this sort
This
of
is your
stream?
brain, Will. This is just how
this
you
is-
hear everything.
I can't wait till we hashtag cancel Casey. That's
Okay,
hilarious.
so I can go next if that's
Yeah,
all
knock
you
yourself
had
out.
in terms of media, Jesse.
Yeah,
Um,
just that current thing cooking my brain.
in terms of games, I did finish Ghost of Tsushima on my last solo stream.
Ooh.
Weirdly enough, Twitch blocked out like a tiny bit of audio from like the final boss fight, and I don't know why. Like it's not copyrighted music as far as I can tell. Like lyrics don't pop up. It's like the same kind of background music that was going on throughout the entire fight, but the whole fight's not blocked out. So that's just Twitch being Twitch, I guess. But either way, not without spoiling anything, because I don't know how many people actually finished it. I know I was late to the party.
Yeah, don't tell me.
It wasn't an ending that I predicted, and a lot of the story was actually pretty predictable. Like I felt it was kind of run of the mill. Doesn't mean it was bad. It was just kind of par for the course. Like clearly the story is inspired by a ton of like samurai stories and whatnot. And some of the side stories try to break that mold a little bit. Like there's one where you learn like a certain character is LGBT, and like that was kind of a surprise, especially in that setting. But some of the other ones are a little boring. Like the one that took almost half the stream and broke my game because like it froze during a cutscene. Because it was just like a master student relationship gone sour, and it just felt really trite the whole way through, and the gameplay didn't help to elevate it past how long they were dragging out this very basic plot line, right? So I felt like skipping it was actually helpful to the overall experience. Like the main story is the best story, which isn't usually the case in open world games nowadays,
Yeah, very much so.
But I did think it wrapped up pretty well. It was a satisfying ending, even though it's a little bittersweet. And overall, I gave it like a C, a 7.5,
Really?
7, something like that. Good time,
Okay.
not a great time. I do want to check out the multiplayer stuff because that seems to be a lot more fantastical. But I'm also weary that the gameplay will feel the same. Like there'll be different looking things, but you'll still be doing the same stuff just with friends, which is always fun. But so
Sometimes you want a bit more.
right, yeah. Like I would have given anything for one of these missions in that game to just force me to do something that it hadn't before. Like there wasn't even like a horse fighting scene. Like you can whack at people with your sword on horseback, but like there was no mission that, well, as far as I know, because I didn't do much of the side stuff, but the side stuff didn't really help. But there was no mission where you had to fight on your horse, you know, and or like do everything from horseback or whatever. So I could be wrong about that, but from my experience of the linear path line, it was just run of the mill. So 7 for me. But outside of games, because the other stuff I've been playing I can't actually talk about yet. It's all under embargo. But I did watch that show on Amazon, Upload. Have you guys seen like trailers for that?
I haven't heard of it.
No.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it. What is that?
It stars Robbie Amell, Green Arrow's younger brother.
You lost me immediately, but keep going.
It's about well, have you guys seen The Good Place? Because it's close analog to that.
Oh, I lied. I saw this actually as I was on the bus and they had no audio, but they have the little screens and they were playing like gifs, like you got to see from Prime. So I have seen it, but
yeah, it's actually
like a carbon copy of it, no?
Yeah, it's a lot like The Good Place. Like it's not the exact same premise, but your main character dies and they upload his consciousness to like a virtual afterlife. It's like kind of this hotel and resort for dead people, right? And so the whole premise is like this world kind of revolves around the idea that you can live forever if you have enough money to go to certain afterlives. Like there are different tiers of afterlife. And like the most expensive one is the one he gets to go to because his girlfriend is super rich and whatever. So it's a really interesting topic on just meta existentialism and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they don't go as much into the philosophy as The Good Place does, which is what makes that show like absolutely brilliant. But they do tell you an interesting story that uses it as a backdrop. And like those questions are kind of in the background and they touch on different things in certain episodes. Like one in particular, there's like a kid in the resort named Dylan. And he died, you know, as a kid, falling off a mountain on a field trip or something, or like he fell off the Grand Canyon. He said, and he dabbed on the way down, which was funny.
Oh, well,
like they try to make it less morbid, more funny, you know. But the thing is, he's been there for like 6 years, so he should be 19, but his parents won't age his avatar up because they want him to stay the way they remember him.
Yep.
And so it's like this push and pull between like I want to grow up, but like my parents have this memory of me and whatnot. And it's like, okay, so who's right in that situation? I would side with Dylan. Like that's super morbid that they would keep him the same age forever. But like that's their grief. That's how they're dealing with the fact that he's not actually with them anymore, though they can talk to him every day. So like weird questions like that arise. And so I burned through the first season and I really liked it.
Nice.
This
now
sounds
it's on Prime,
wild.
so I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like there's really fun like tech jokes and like sci-fi stuff in it, but then also like kind of more meaningful existential questions. Like, for example, another character who was kind of poor is like planning to take out a bunch of loans and you know, having her job co-sign loans and stuff so that she can put her sick dad in the virtual world and whatnot. And her dad is like, well, your mom died without having been uploaded. And I feel like the only way I'll get to see her again is if I also die and don't get uploaded.
Oh, wow.
Right. So it's like, what is like, there's no heaven without your mom in it. And like, that's what he would get if he were to go to this, you know, virtual world and the mom didn't. But then he's leaving the daughter behind. And so it's like this, you know, it gets real deep in ways that you don't expect.
That's giving me Altered Carbon vibes in the best way.
Yeah, I really hated Altered Carbon.
Oh, well.
I watched like maybe the first 3 episodes or so, and like I could not stand the pacing at all. Like I love the world, I love the concept, but like it was not doing it for me story wise. But yeah, that was fun. Watched the Snyder Cut. I don't know if you guys did as well. I don't want to get too far into that, even though it's a movie that technically we've all seen already.
Yeah, I don't want to. My friend keeps trying to tell me, he's like, "Oh, I like how they really added stuff with like the Flash was more and the Cyborg was focused." I'm like, I hate the actor who plays the Flash. Let's just stop. He's not a good actor.
Really? You don't like Ezra Miller?
He's trash. He's trash. And you know what? A lot of people have been telling me it's just because I'm biased because I prefer actually the Grant Gustin version. I'm like, no, he's just not a good actor. I watch Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and I'm like, you're an absolute ass. You don't deserve here. You don't deserve to be here. And I'm not convinced. I also don't buy him as the Flash. I don't see anything resemblance to something that what I look for when I'm looking for Barry Allen. So you know what? Screw him because I can't curse, and that's that.
In terms of that, no,
go
no,
ahead.
I'll push back a little bit. I do see exactly what you're saying though with Ezra Miller. Like I'm not a fan of his neurotic behavior. Like I do feel like that's a little off for what I've normally seen for Flash. Like Flash is supposed to be chatty, you know? He's like he's like a motor mouth and like he's like sarcastic and whatnot. He's not necessarily like nerdy and geeky to that sense. And so like yeah, I do feel like they're pushing him a little far in that category. He's like twitchy even in in Jack Snyder's Justice League. But I will say like they did flesh out the character. Like regardless of how Ezra Miller plays him, they did flesh him out. They gave him more backstory, they gave him more context in the frame of that movie. Like we all know that story, you know, about his dad and stuff being in jail. But like he kind of just does pop up out of nowhere in the first cut, and this cut just adds a little bit more.
But I also didn't mind. Like it's like the equivalent of watching Spider-Man a million times when they reboot. You're like, we know what happens. We don't pretend we're idiots. We can just get to the meat right now. But also, you at that point, your core character has to be someone you can almost have like universal appeal. And Ezra just looks like he has. I just want to punch his face every time.
But I mean,
I'm not
is
aggressive.
he the core character? Like it's an ensemble cast, right?
Well, what I mean is that like the core character in terms of all the superheroes that are within there. You know what I mean? Like you have to like, well, not have to like, but like for the most part, I think you would want to majoritarily like actually like let's say superstars, the actors who play or the performances of those actors and actresses for their corresponding hero. So like for example, like I don't really care for Ben Affleck. I appreciate his performance. Same thing with Henry. Wonder Woman, I can't. I'm always wishy-washy. You know what I mean?
So you don't like any of the actors involved, is what you're saying?
No, like I don't like Ben Affleck. I don't like Ben Affleck personally. That's just me.
Did Ben Affleck like cut you in traffic or something? Like
no, he's just a sexist Boston boy. That's all.
Is he? I don't know that much about Ben Affleck, to be honest.
If you did some research in his previous relationships and what's been on the internet, it's like, oh,
I only know that he used to be with Jennifer Lopez. That's all I know about Ben Affleck.
Oh God, they made that terrible movie Gigi. Oh my gosh, we don't got to talk about that. But either way, what I'm saying is that like you would want to have some sort of thing where you appreciate their performance as the character. And if I'm looking at the Justice League, it's just the Flash that's the biggest weak point for me.
Really, I would still say Cyborg kind of gets the shaft.
He gets the shaft, but that has nothing to do with his performance. That's just what's included.
Fair.
So,
Poxon in the chat. Well, Roach Boy and Jesse are saying slander.
Wait, what?
I just like the slander cut, like the Snyder cut. I have not seen the Snyder cut, so I don't know about the Flash. I mean, I thought everybody in all of Snyder's superhero movies that I've seen, which was Batman v Superman and Justice League, are terrible, but I'm blaming the director and the script. Pogson was mentioning that Batfleck is best Batman, and I'm not against that.
Yeah, I think he looks like visually like that's the best looking Batman that I think I've seen on screen. Like honestly,
yeah, and I think that could work, but in the two movies that he's in, they're so bad I cannot judge his performance. And I know that the main part of what makes his character in those movies bad is not on him.
I don't think his performance is bad at all. I just don't think he's the most interesting Batman. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'd rather deal
but
with
that's script and directing.
Where's the Joker? Or whatever. Where's
I absolutely hate Christian Bale's Batman. Think he's the worst Batman, period. Best movies, worst Batman. That's how I feel. And to your point with Batfleck not being that interesting, it's because these aren't movies about him. Like Batman v Superman, he shares the spotlight with Superman, who actually is the central figure of that movie. Batman versus Superman is all about Superman.
Yeah, I know. That's why no one likes it.
Because Superman can be kind of boring.
It's a movie about John Cena. Who wants that? Nobody.
What? John
John
Cena's not in
Cena
that movie.
John Cena is the equivalent of Superman in the wrestling
Why?
industry.
How?
1,000%. I'm talking
Please
about
explain.
like
I don't understand what
I'm
what is this
talking
connection coming from?
well, it's very simple. And there was an era within wrestling where John Cena was literally connected to Superman because of the fact that he could not be beaten. He was always over, and because of that, everyone hated him because the gimmick got very, very boring. Oh, look, it's John Cena. I wonder who's gonna win. Same thing with Batman or Superman. Oh, look, it's Superman. He's here. I wonder who's stronger. Like, it's the same shit. You know what I mean?
Well, that okay. Well, I'll bite on this tangent. Cuz I feel like that just cuz the name is Batman versus Superman, like that wasn't the actual plot of the movie. Like their versus wasn't like an actual physical altercation. It was like their ideals, right?
No, it was just Martha.
No, that was how they bonded at the end.
Yeah,
But
bonded, quote unquote.
but the tension was, their methods and the extent to their power and just the untrust of these entities, right? Like Batman was kind of this dark, mysterious figure, and Superman was this bright spot, but he was kind of all powerful, and like who could stop him if they really wanted to? Like if he all of a sudden wasn't a bright spot, like what's in place to stop him? He could do whatever he wanted, and we're just resigned to his goodwill, is how Bruce felt, And then he learned to trust him at the end because they had the same mind. It was stupid. It was dumb. I agree. But
I do defend the extended cut rather than the original though.
I don't think I've seen the extended cut for that.
The extended cut fills a lot of the holes. It's just very boring.
Honestly,
So if you're not into the story, then it's just like
what a pitch.
Well, I mean, if you like logic, like not the rapper, thank God this, but if you enjoy the logic that goes down, if you feel like you're missing a bit of pieces, then boom, you just kind of watch the extended cut. You're like, oh, I'm gonna nap now, and then you get over it.
The Benevolent Gamer agrees with your logic. Will
it makes sense.
Equals Superman is actually kind of legit based on that logic.
It's 1,000%.
Yeah, I kind of stopped watching wrestling just before John Cena showed up, so I really don't know anything about his wrestling career. Like I ended up kind of liking him more as an actor outside of wrestling, weirdly enough.
Which is fair.
He does have some fun roles.
Yeah, like he's pretty funny when he's like cameoing here and there. But to stop going down this rabbit hole, I think that's pretty much it in terms of like stuff that I played and watched. Will, what do you got?
We're really talking. We've been talking for a while.
I know.
Okay. Let's see. I have been busy because new jobs, and I've been working with kids and stuff like that. I haven't had the chance to play the games I want to. Like I recently bought Mortal Kombat, the Ultimate Edition,
Nice.
Which I'm not gonna lie to you. And Casey, we talked about this in your podcast before. Like the story on Mortal Kombat can be very confusing, and quite frankly, I'm just jumping into it, and I'm like, I'm just gonna nod my head and appreciate what's going on. You know what I mean?
You're right about that. But if you start from the beginning, it'll all make sense.
I still feel like I'll be confused. It's like
this is like the third part in a trilogy story, mind you. Like 9, 10, and 11 are like 1, 2, and 3 in a new reboot trilogy.
Which makes sense, but it always feels like there's always some sort of detail that's really key and very minimal. And like, if I miss this, it's over. So I've just been semi like playing that. I mean, in March, I got a chance to finish Miles Morales, which was amazing. Platinum that bad boy. Only cried twice. I'm not a baby. You're a baby. Let's see. What else? I played Bug Snacks because Amy. Just simply because Amy told me to.
How long did that last?
It was 6 hours. I platinumed it.
Oh, damn. Okay.
It's not a bad game. It's just not fantastic. You know what I mean? Like, it's a good way to burn time. I look at it as the equivalent of playing The Sims or Animal Crossing. It's no way in terms of creativity and building and all that. But it's one of those things where you just kind of, you need to reset the watch and stop playing all the shooting and all that other stuff. So, like I'm saying, like a Call of Duty or stuff like that.
Right,
so
yeah, like
I appreciate it.
Just a chill game.
Yeah, and my parents didn't quite understand, and family was like, "Why is your controller yelling?" Because they're like Pokemon when you catch them, so whatever their name is, they'll just yell it out. And I forgot the PlayStation controller has a little speaker there, so I'm like, "Oh, I look really old playing this childlike game." So that's the thing. Aside from that, it's just been primarily Rocket League. I did review Adios, which was a game. I don't think it was a bad game in the slightest, to be fair. And now that it's past the time and it's released, I can say that like I think it was a game for me. Like I enjoyed because I really took the narrative and just put everything else to the side. It felt like an episode of like I don't want to say Black Mirror, but maybe even the Twilight Zone, just not so super sci-fi in that regard. It's this very simple tale.
Okay.
And I almost wish it was a show, like an episode of something rather than the game, because you don't really do anything in the game.
So
It's just
it being interactive doesn't add to any parts of the story, you feel?
it's like not even interactive in that regard. You know what I mean? The minimalistic thing you do, like example, you will feed a horse. You will walk from point A to B. You will shoot because they play they were actually doing like target practice. You tell them to pull and then there's an auto aim and then you just pull the trigger and it kills. Like it's nothing that's gonna do. It's like mundane task
Mhm.
and it feels like it's redundant. That's why I'm like I'd rather prefer it in a different medium. And also for a two people team, I guess I can't complain. You know what I mean? But also $18 is kind of steep for an hour experience. I don't think that really makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And graphically, it's just not there. What were you
But
saying,
6
Jesse?
hours. But 6 hours at $18.
Fair. I mean, I've went by the logic that if I enjoy, if I know, like for example, there's a game I'm gonna like, and I know I'm gonna like it because either the genre or trailers, whatever I got my information prior, I'll put it like an hour, $1 per hour for me. So if I know it's a game, like for example, Mortal Kombat, you can do like the full trophy list in about 35 hours or something like that. And the game was $30. Easy sale for me. I know I was gonna enjoy it and I know I was gonna invest it. So, you have fun. You do what you do. So, but yeah, no, I've done that. And ironically, kids are trying to get me to play Roblox so I can understand it, but I don't. And one day I will.
Reason to understand Roblox. Roblox is pure chaos.
Yeah, well, they're like, if you like Fortnite, you'll like Roblox. I'm like, I don't think that's true.
It's not.
Really,
That's a lie. Kids lie. In case you didn't know.
Yeah. Aside from that, Smash. I bought 3 Switch games and I have yet to play them. I just tried to play Animal Crossing, but I'm not sure what's going on. I'm just old.
But that's weird.
And
Because old people like Animal Crossing. I thought.
I'm sure they do.
Dang, did
but
you
quite
say
frankly,
old people?
Yeah, like older gamers and such.
Dang.
Like it's a game that
Calling me out.
no, but I'm saying like it's a game that older people can get behind versus this is too fast paced for people of a certain age. Like not saying you guys are old just because you like Animal Crossing, but older people can also enjoy Animal Crossing. Is how I dig myself out of that hole.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, sure. And the only thing in terms of TV, I've been trying to catch up on The Flash, but I've just had a hard time because timing wise, it's just been bad. And there's a lot of movies like I have the Zack Snyder cut on my to-do list, but like I think Jesse would appreciate this. I just finished the latest episode of AEW, and yeah, that last match. You're not gonna know what's going on because you're a nerd, Casey. But man,
I'm a nerd because I don't watch AEW.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. If you want to get back into wrestling, I do recommend AEW or New Japan Pro World.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get back into wrestling, don't bother at WWE. Just gonna throw that out.
I mean, the thing is, I don't know if I do or not. Like, I don't hate wrestling. It's just like I moved away from the WWE stuff after a while. Like, is it worth it to get reinvested at this point?
Yeah. Did you love wrestling when you were a kid?
I mean, yeah, but I also, I loved a lot of other things as a kid that I probably don't now. Like, I used to eat packets of ketchup out of the...
That's weird. That's
yes!
Like, I don't do that anymore. I promise.
Yeah, but you put applesauce on pound cake, so
yes,
whatever.
Forever.
No.
That sounds delicious.
You guys are broken and I need to leave this tree. This is terrible.
You think you're from a place that defends pizza that cannot support itself. So I don't know if I can believe
you don't want
your
to wreck
opinion
pizza.
on food.
You don't want to wreck pizza.
No, I can't say anything there because I've had pizza in DC and I was not pleased.
Yeah, no, I've heard this. But hold on, have you
That's
ever been
okay.
to a wrestling event, Casey, like live?
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah, so yeah, he's not going to get into it. You have to have a love for it at that point. You know what I mean? You can passively watch it, but if you're not into it, like if you haven't felt the electricity in the building,
I mean, I used to love
it's hard to pull.
those THQ wrestling games. I used to be all
Yeah,
in
those
on
are
those.
dope.
Yeah.
Those are fun. But either way, that match was amazing, and AEW always takes 2 hours out of my life, which makes it hard for me to do anything else.
Well,
And I'm
where does
always
it
behind,
air? Like,
too.
where could I see it if I wanted to?
TNT Wednesday night, 8 p.m.
They also do a YouTube show called AEW Dark. Their dark matches are the ones that don't count for like the like win-loss
Win-loss
ratio
ratio.
they keep track of,
Okay.
but they still have like the main roster on there.
Yeah,
Okay.
they feel like squash matches for the most part, but that's fine. Also, you remember the big 7-foot guy that was in WWE?
Which
He did
one?
a lot of choke slams.
There's like a couple of them.
Well, let's just say he was a big guy.
I'm talking about
Sits on
the
big.
Big Show.
He's now in AEW.
Oh,
As
nice.
Paul White.
Paul
but
White.
he's in and
Yeah.
out.
Weirdly enough, I was singing his entrance music like while doing the dishes like 2 days ago.
Honestly, that's
It's
me
the
every
big
day.
show.
Well, it's the Big Show. Oh, never mind. We don't want to get DMCA'd.
My freaking partner and I sing that song all the time.
Right. It just randomly just shows up in your head. Just that well.
As soon as he came to AEW, my immediate reaction was I sung that and I go, "It's Paul White." I'm like, it doesn't work.
It doesn't.
Does not work.
So so I'm assuming that persona is tied to WWE, right? He can't like take it with him to AEW.
Right.
Own that, yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Well, that happened with a lot of wrestlers. That happened with Cody Rhodes, who had to go just by Cody because they owned the name Cody Rhodes.
Is his real name Cody Rhodes though?
Yeah.
Wow.
They trademarked it.
How do you sign away your actual name?
Vince
It
McMahon
happens all
is
the
the
time.
devil.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a one that's just recently came. I think they went by the TNA name, the Christian Cage. But in WWE, he was just Christian. If he wanted to remove the cage, he can't do it because WWE owns the name Christian as a wrestling entity.
Oh my god.
It's dumb.
That's real dumb.
Yeah, they're
Somebody
terrible.
stop Vince McMahon. That should be AEW's entire like overarching story plot line. Is like, this is all to stop Vince McMahon. Get on board.
That's pretty much what it feels like.
Right.
But
I
if you,
would
for some reason-
100% get on board with that movie.
Yeah, I'm on board with that plot
Do
line.
it for the pittiness. The last thing I have to say is that for some reason, if you rewatch WWE, and I don't recommend it, NXT I think is probably the best place to go to, just because it's actually
is.
like wrestling.
Mhm.
But if not, there's a gentleman called R-Truth. He is the reason my heart is there. That's all. He's the best.
Oh
He's
man,
the absolute best individual, wrestler, personality. He had the best gimmicks. He argued with the invisible child, little Jimmy. It was great.
I feel like that's a Dark Souls
And-
reference.
It might be. It's just amazing. All right, to the
interesting.
topics. To the topics.
Right, yeah, we can move on to the topics now. Just real quick, I just want to shout out some new faces in the chat. Welcome Ash, he's out there. I see Lampy, I see Darth Tommy, I see Honey Money dropping in. Welcome everybody.
Whoop, whoop.
First topic
Tommy.
on the list. If you don't know, The Simpsons is still going. It's a show that I think has the current record for the longest running animated TV show, either in America or the world. I forget. I can't think of anything that's longer than that. But
We do our research here at the Sigma Show.
we try to. Sometimes we fail. But either way, because it's been going on for so long, we've seen a bunch of flashbacks in the show of some of these characters. Like we've seen, Homer and Marge when they had like a very young Bart and Lisa. We've seen Homer as a teenager arguing with his dad. He and Barney grew up together in school and stuff. But recently they aired an episode where Homer was again flashing back as a teenager, but it was set in the 90s, which is a retcon of his age, making Homer, I think, perpetually 35 or 40 something. Like if you're a teenager in the 90s, you're in your mid 30s, right? Right? Like mid to late 30s.
You expect me to do math
Maybe.
on the fly? Let me pull out my calculator. Nerd.
Tommy says release the Homer cut.
Yeah.
But I just find that super interesting because the response from fans, of course, was kind of like, what are you doing? That doesn't make any sense. Like the Simpsons is going off the shark again, blah 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 blah. And the current showrunner basically says, look, the show is evolving. All the characters stay the same age. At the end of the day, it's a cartoon show. None of this matters.
Mm-hmm.
True that.
And I'm of two minds about that as an excuse for the lineage. But real quick, I want to just I want to get you guys' take on doing something like this, because like The Simpsons is a unique case because of how long it's run for. But like, what about other shows that have lengthy runs, and like sitcoms, for example? Because I think those are probably the closest analogs. About kind of just in the middle of its run, kind of retconning character histories, like how, or at least not letting characters age. Like you have multiple Christmas episodes and whatnot, and you know no one gets older. What's your take?
Well, Jesse, you could talk. You had your mouth. You got it.
Sure. I mean, first of all, I shouldn't be shocked, but I'm shocked that this was something they had to defend. Like,
Fair.
It's a doggone show. Like, let writers be writers. But yeah, it's in a unique spot of it's a time bubble. Like, they have cell phones. I think I don't watch The Simpsons, but like they have cell phones now. Like the world has to progress in some fashion, and they don't operate in the same timeline. So if you have this 90s flashback and a 70s flashback of the same teenage person, like what does it matter? Like they don't exist or operate in our sense of time. So trying to hold a standard to that is ultimately a fool's errand.
Interesting. What is your immediate reaction, Will?
That people need to get off their freaking high horse and take it easy. I mean, let's look at it, the scope of things. Let's connect it to other shows that are there.
Okay.
Family Guy has been doing that since they released in general. And even though Family Guy, some people say that they pretty much copied the same thing, which I don't necessarily agree.
I don't see how you couldn't see that it's a copy.
Well, I'm saying I don't think it necessarily is, because when I know it's the family dynamic that it copied, you know what I mean? And the fact that it was supposed to be this simple, small issues, but it's also its own different lane. I don't put The Simpsons and Family Guy within the same lane. That's like putting The Simpsons and Bob's Burgers, which, again, very similar in the family construct, two different stories that have happened throughout the years. Which is weird because Bob's Burgers has been for 10 seasons, which makes me feel old.
Yeah, that show's been trucking along.
Exactly. So my thing is that, like, let's connect it. Those Family Guy has done that from the get-go. Stewie has not aged. Situations have occurred that shouldn't make sense. Like, for example, Bonnie gave birth to a child, and Stewie's still the same age. Let's put that in mind. Nothing changed. Kids are still in high school. Peter's still a dumbass. Lois is still supporting him. Like, it's okay, and that's perfectly fine. We've accepted that from watching it.
Okay.
It's also, I think a lot of people, I want to say, the ones who really grew up with The Simpsons and loved it are now, those who are old and grumpy are upset for the silliest reasons. They think that the show's lost its edge. And to be fair, these things are going to happen as we evolve, because Family Guy is not, season 2 or 1 Family Guy is not whatever it is now. It is two different ball games. You can't say the certain things you do. It still has its moments where it's like, holy shit, they said that. But it's like nothing in comparison. As to, let's look at South Park, where, again, nothing's changed over 23 seasons. But guess what? They're still saying everything offensive. Anything that's going on in terms of pop culture and media is connected to South Park in actually a really, really smart way. And guess what? They haven't lost their edge whatsoever, but they have updated their message. I don't know if you guys know, in the beginning, they write the little thing that this is all depiction, so on and so forth. Recently, they added the coronavirus special. Where
I've been seeing that advertised around.
Yeah, where the kids basically need to get the coronavirus thing, and everyone's like trying to get it. And one of the characters, Mr. Garrison, who was a teacher, used to be he was basically Trump for the last season.
Yeah, and I remember hearing about that too.
So it's just like, it's dumb and it's silly, but guess what? They still made it work. So the way I look at it is this: if we're gonna be really focusing on things like that, as to comparing it to other shows that are within the same lane. I would say adult animations that go across the edgy line. Even though Simpsons a little more stray from that one, but was at one point I would say.
No, it was like the progenitor of adult animation. Like it just,
Exactly.
in comparison to everyone trying to out Simpson the Simpsons, it's now today seems to look a lot more tame.
Exactly. So my thing is that if we're gonna really if you love The Simpsons or any of the previous shows and now feel like it's lost its edge, maybe you just need to stop watching or just enjoy it for what it is. If it's no longer for you, that's perfectly fine. You can outgrow the show. But at the end of the day, if the show is going to continue to run, it's going to fix itself. It's going to acknowledge its past. The same reason The Simpsons recasted characters, or even Family Guy recasted characters, because they weren't black. And they were like, guess what? What's adding a person who's black? Because you know what? It freaking makes sense. So,
well, I do have a counter to that sentiment of, well, it's just a cartoon and all these other shows also do it. That while that is true, what those other shows don't do, well, Family Guy probably does it, but is this whole notion of flashback. Like South Park especially. I cannot think of a single episode of South Park where they flash back and tell you history about the characters that informs how they, like, who their character is, like, in the present, you know? Like, The Simpsons is good for that, because you can have those episodes where, like one of the most memorable Simpsons episodes is when Maggie was born, and Homer and Marge weren't prepared for it, and how he basically had to stick with his, like, dead-end job to do it for her, like, you know, that whole big collage he made on his wall there, right? Like, that's part of his history and informs how he is today, right? When you then, in the future, because of, you know, this time bubble that they live in, go back and start to rearrange certain facts, it does sort of dilute that history. Like, there is a bit of lineage. Like, The Simpsons is a little bit more grounded than some of these other shows that come after. Like, Family Guy can get away with some of this stuff because it is absolutely surreal. Like,
of course.
they have flashbacks of things that you know don't make any sense whatsoever. So it's kind of like they kind of have free reign to do anything. But like The Simpsons can't kind of get away with some of that stuff. Like Peter can be like a boat in a flashback. You know, like his whole face is just a boat. And that makes sense because it's Family Guy. That doesn't work in The Simpsons unless it's like the Halloween episode where they give themselves license to get a little more crazy. So I do see, I understand the pushback because it's like there was a thread that did make sense in their history. And when you go back and rewrite it and make the time all funky, now all of that starts to loosen a bit. And yes, it's not the worst thing in the world. There's no reason for anyone to get mad or upset. And it's just a symptom of how long the show's been on. And it makes me feel like, well, maybe you should end it now. Like, if you're forced into these writing corners and you have to explain it away by saying, like, well, it's a cartoon. Like, don't care so much about it. I feel like that gets away from what you're doing because you want people to care about your show, right? Like, you want people to be invested in the characters and the world and the story that they're telling. Like, even if it is something silly, even if it's adult humor or whatever, like, Matt Groening specifically makes cartoons that always have, like, a central heart. Like, Futurama is one of my favorite animated shows of all time. And it gives you hella feels because, like, you care about those characters and you care about what those characters care about, right? Like, they deal with time in that situation, and it closes its story in, like, a very tight, interesting loop. And because it doesn't go on forever, I feel like they were afforded the opportunity to do that. The Simpsons, I feel like the longer it goes on, the more it's going to hurt itself and its legacy. And, like, this is an example of it. Like, this rewriting of the history. It's something that they felt forced into doing because the show has just been on for freaking 35 years or whatever.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's why I can understand, like, that pushback. Like, yes, it's juvenile to, like, get upset on the internet, but people love that show. Like, it's meaningful to a lot of people.
Yeah, but is it that big of a deal? It's not because of it's a cartoon thing. My approach is just more so at the fact that, yeah, you mentioned it. You hit the freaking hammer on the head. It's been on for so damn long. Of course, these things are going to end up reoccurring where we're going to kind of like, we can't do this because we did this already, or we have to adjust that because of the fact, the logic. But also, the way I look at it is just, it's like when a comic book revamps itself, where they threw a new twist, shall I say, and there's either a new character or they rewrite something. We pretend that something didn't happen, and maybe I'm just accustomed to that in that medium, but I see it as a new chance to kind of capitalize on one, nostalgia, because obviously the 90s thing, that's a big chunk that they couldn't do because they were launched at that time, but to readjust for their new audience, for those who understand The Simpsons for now. You know what I mean? Those who only started at 2010 or something like that. It doesn't really make, that's what I'm looking at like that. It's like, is it really a significant difference in terms of the story? Yes. Have I kept up with the story? No, because it's 35 freaking seasons. At that point, I'm watching a soap opera in terms of its length. So am I really going to overstress at the fact that things were twisted? No. If it was more of a narrative show, like if they did something like this on a Breaking Bad, which was ended at a perfect time, if you ask me, or any sort of show where you've kind of gone past this. I think The Walking Dead would be a perfect example. I don't watch it. I used to. But guess what? Like, they're going so long with the fact that now things have been, like, really stale. It's been past its prime. It is time to shut that bad boy down.
I would agree with that.
But yet here they are because money. But I actually will appreciate Simpsons more than The Walking Dead because of the fact that I think one has a little bit more of a universal appeal rather than The Walking Dead, where it's more like, I don't know, it's a serious thing, but that's already past its prime, and you know what, it doesn't do anything to improve upon it. As for The Simpsons, I think it's adjusting and realizing, okay, we have a new audience, and we've already afforded ourselves where we can kind of break and bend the rules, which I give a total pass.
Well, that I'm glad you brought up that question of we have a new audience, because that's like kind of what I'm wondering, like, who is the audience for The Simpsons right now? Because I used to watch it when I was a young kid, right? And back then I identified more with Bart. Bart and I were closer in age back then when I first started watching it, right? So now 20 odd years later, Homer's a teenager in the 90s. That means I'm supposed to now identify with Homer, and it makes sense. Homer would be closer to my age. He has, kids. He has, a house and stuff that he has to take care of. So that makes sense that they would readjust it and make Homer a 90s kid, right? In that sense. But if I was watching it when I was a kid, I'm probably in the group who fell off, because honestly, I don't watch The Simpsons anymore, right? Like I've started actually going back and watching older episodes since they all showed up on HBO Disney Plus. Yeah. So I've been watching some of the older stuff, like not even going into the newer stuff that I know I haven't seen. I'm going back and watching stuff that I know I have seen, which is like, so okay, so who is this new audience? Is it actually younger kids? Is it teenagers? Would a teenager today relate with a flashback of a teenager in the 90s? Is that something that they're interested in? Like, I don't know. Who's that for?
They're probably not so much looking in terms of the character connection, where I think you're going, because now we've aged into that group, but more so at the fact that they relate to the concept of when they were in the 90s. Because I only saw like a minute clip go, so I can't say how deep it is, but like that sort of nostalgic feel where, for example, Grandpa's there and they're talking about you're wasting your life and this, that, and the third, and it was just that sort of rebellious situation at that time. So,
and that's pretty universal for just teenagers, period, right?
Yeah, well, you got to keep in mind. Well, yeah, and I think it hits us in a sort of a soft spot because, one, we were there, and then two, you see like small nods to things that are relevant. Like if you see a Game Boy, you automatically have feels, whether you like it or dislike it. Like if you're a part of the 90s, you know what it is. If you see a Furby, you already know what the vibes is. A Tamagotchi, it doesn't matter what the item is. There's something that's going to trigger something impulsively.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if there's people that are children or teenagers that are running to The Simpsons, but honestly, I'd be interested to see the data, because now the fact that everything's on Disney Plus, it does leave an opportunity for somebody to literally just deep dive into it. It was like, you know what? I loved Family Guy. This was before Family Guy. Let me see what it was. And then boom, now you got a 35 million hour investment, and there's that.
I mean, it doesn't hurt that, the plot isn't, serialized in a way that you can kind of jump in and out of it. Once you get the premise, it's just a kooky family, right? Like you don't have to watch it in order.
Yeah. And that's what makes it like appealing. The same way like Bob's Burgers is appealing. I don't know how people dislike it, because it's literally a family and their small wins mean the world. That's what makes the episodes. That's what for 10 seasons made it appealing to people, because like I can relate to this. It's no bigger situation. It's literally people I identify with because I can see my mother within Linda. I can see Bob as my dad, or I identify with Bob in the fact that he doesn't want to talk to people. He just wants to be a good person. You know what I mean?
Makes sense. Honey Money, who I believe is outing herself as a continued Simpsons fan,
There we go.
says it's easily digestible. You always know what you get. It's like a safety blanket for people who grew up with it and didn't fall off. Like 30 minutes each week, and I can have it on while I do something else on my other screen. I don't really sit and just watch it. Viewing habits have changed. That makes a lot of sense. Right, yeah. Like, it doesn't need to be all-encompassing in its storytelling. It can just be, comfort food / background noise. And as long as people are watching it in this way, even, they're probably going to keep making them. So,
of course.
All right, so that's where we end on that topic. No real resolution because, it's the internet. But
everyone's mad.
We'll move on to our next topic. Not sure how deep we'll go into this, but do want to call to attention the fact that Evo, the Evolution Championship Series, is the biggest fighting game tournament. Every year it comes around. I'm super excited to kind of watch the games that are on display. That
nerd.
We're all nerds. That's why we're doing this right now.
No, what are you talking about? Me and Jesse are professionals.
Professional nerds, yes.
Professional nerds.
Oh, no. Jack is going to sue you.
No, he's a professional video game enjoyer. He's not a professional nerd.
Oh, who has that? Oh, well, there's a cease and desist coming.
But either way, Sony, as well as a company called RTS, have jointly essentially taken over control of Evo. What that means to me on the surface is Evo was probably struggling due to COVID. Like they weren't able to hold their tournament in person. They were moving to an online model last year. And then one of their heads of office was accused of various sexual assaults. And so they parted ways with this guy, removed him from the company entirely, canceled that year's tournament. So that's pretty much an off year of just no revenue, tons of bad press and whatnot. And now we're facing a second year coming up of probably more COVID restrictions in place. And they probably just needed some help. So Sony, RTS, they footed some money. Essentially, the people who still run Evo are still going to do that, but they have new bosses. They are planning to do another online tournament. And where do you guys see Evo today, like with this history and with these new companies coming in to kind of bail them out? Like, how do you think that's going to affect this storied fighting game tournament?
I should speak. You should do that, Jesse.
Oh, okay.
Why are you whispering? I literally couldn't hear you. Your mic wouldn't pick you up because of how low you were whispering.
I don't
know. Okay, so everything you said is probably true with like COVID restrictions, and they were struggling, and then bad press, and like good on them for getting rid of people that were problematic. Yay. But yeah, the thing that worries me is that PlayStation bought them, and I always get worried when a big company buys something else that's big, especially when PlayStation has invested interest in console exclusivity.
Yeah.
So looking at like, okay, well, are they going to focus either more on titles that are only on PlayStation, or specifically pushing and giving less press and less prize money or less time, everything into things that are specifically not on PlayStation, like Smash, Killer Instinct, whatever they have? And is that going to be harder for newcomers that are cross-platform if there's a smaller fighting game that comes up that is cross-platform, but is more active on Xbox or Switch or whatever console is currently out that isn't owned by PlayStation? Will it get downplayed despite community and fan support for it?
That's a good point.
All that makes me nervous because I don't like monopolies, big companies.
Well, I wish I can give you more of enough of an opinion, but quite frankly, I can't say I have much care for this topic.
So have you never seen Evo? Like, are you familiar?
I know what it is.
Yeah.
I have never watched an event.
You're missing out, man. Honestly.
Okay, Casey, I support when we play Smash and stuff like that, But fighting games for me is like watching like paint dry.
Like,
it's not exciting to me
You mean to play or to watch even?
to watch.
All right, well, let me ask you a question. Have you seen the Daigo parry? Have you seen that viral clip?
This is just right over my head. Absolutely not.
Watch it, look it up. It will move something inside you. I promise. I promise.
I want to tell you, I'm going to warn you in advance. I know I'm a negative Nancy, and I don't think this is going to help.
Like, don't do it now. Don't do it now that there's pressure on you. But like, I'll remind you even after we're done podcasting. Look up the Daigo parry clip. I think they call it like moment 34 or something.
Okay. Oh,
like,
yes, I've seen this clip where the guy was damn near on no health and
yes,
he just said,
yes.
gotta yeet. Yeah, no, that doesn't do anything for me.
You're a liar. Will is a liar.
Yeah.
And
Everything I love. What would I gain from that? I'm like, oh, wow. He's good at the game.
Spectacle. Like, you watch sports to some extent, right? You watch AEW, you said. You watch wrestling. So you can understand.
But I have a love for the wrestling. I don't have a love for fighting games, and I don't have
you don't need a love for fighting games to understand the spirit of competition, I'm sure. Right?
To me, it's just my buttons.
A come from behind victory is something that's universal. Like, it doesn't have to be in fighting. It could be like a snail beating a freaking rabbit or something.
Nope. It does absolutely. It's like, I've seen it. Congrats. Anyway, that's not the point. My point isn't to be narcissistic. My problem, or not my problem, my thing is more so kind of, I'm echoing what Jesse's initially saying, and that I'm hoping that with new management, this doesn't result in them attempting to push a certain game specifically, because if PlayStation decides, you know what, Killer Instinct was on the Xbox and it was garbage, let's fix that. Let's do something better, and then push that and give it the sort of success, or inflated success at that point, because of the fact that it'll have a heavy push. I just wouldn't want anything like that, and I would hope that as investors, RTS and Sony would just allow things to run the way it is. Obviously, I don't think anything's wrong with having new management or adjusting things here or there, but rather these people who are professionals have been doing it for years. Like, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And unless it's suffering in terms of views, which, okay, COVID is a factor, keep that in mind. But unless it's going completely tanking and you're losing your ROI at that point, then yeah, you're probably going to want to step in. I'm hoping that it doesn't screw up anything at the end of the day, because I do, I've always, my brother-in-law likes going to actual fighting events. Like, he plays Smash, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and I've supported him in that regard by going to those events. Again, was like I was watching paint dry.
So even watching your own brother play and you wanting your brother to win, I'm assuming you wanted your brother to win.
I didn't want him to win. No.
My mistake. I don't know why I would think Will would.
No, the reason why I don't want him to win is because I'm trying not to curse. That dude pulls out a little arcade cabinet square, a little joypad, whatever the hell that is. Yeah, the fight stick.
Yeah.
And then guess what? He's like, I customized this. This costs $300. I can twist this and do that. I'm like, my guy, I want to just do get over here and then an uppercut. That's all I want to do. You want to freaking summon demons. I don't want to do that, all right? I'm fine. But I'm hoping.
That's incredible that your own blood can't spur your...
It's a brother-in-law. Take it easy, all right?
He married into your own blood.
Yeah.
I accept him. That's that.
Cold.
But no, on that subject of like PlayStation kind of injecting exclusivity, I do think for the most part, Evo has actually leaned in the direction of Sony in general. Like, most of the systems that they use tend to be like PlayStation. Like, they don't put like any of their games on Xbox. I don't know if Killer Instinct has ever been featured. It might have at some point. But yeah, this really does affect, I think, Smash the most, which has consistently been one of the biggest draws to Evo. And it's kind of being hit on two fronts because they had to go online, and Nintendo doesn't really give a shit about like online stuff. They had to remove it from the roster last year, and it's going to be removed this year because it's not going to work online. Like the pro community for Smash, like, they play in person, and online is not an option for them.
Yeah.
So with that being said, like, the games that they have on the list so far are Tekken 7, Street Fighter 5 Championship Edition, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, and Guilty Gear Strive. And I believe Guilty Gear, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but Street Fighter 5 is exclusive to PlayStation. And
I think it's on PC now.
It's on PC now?
Yeah, I think that's where it's
and
at.
I think Guilty Gear is also not on other consoles outside of PlayStation.
It might be on PC too. I gotta check.
I believe they added like a PC thing, if I'm not crazy, but it took like a year or so where it wasn't allowed. That seems very silly.
It seems like it could be narrowing the appeal,
but you can't really do anything with COVID at the moment, though. Like, it would make things terrible. Like, you would literally, oh no, it's just not worth it. I'm hoping that this is just a temporary situation, because when push comes to shove, Smash is when I think of a fighting game that has more of a, like when I think Street Fighter or Tekken or like, these are niche audiences. You know what I mean? These are very enthusiast people.
Well, let's be real. The entire FGC is kind of niche. Like, it's not not like super mainstream yet.
Obviously,
but of those niche groups, Street Fighter is up there and Smash is up there.
That's what I'm saying. Well,
and like Marvel vs. Capcom and stuff.
Well, I guess let me rephrase what I'm initially trying to say. The one that brings the biggest appeal, and I mean from people who play the game as like much as 1,000+ hours, which I don't know who would do that, but you know, yeah, look around. But you know, like, or those people who are casual, who are like Nick or something like that, they just kind of play whatever and don't even think about it. You know, that's not even an insult. I'm just saying he doesn't play it heavily.
I mean, coming from you, it still kind of reads as an insult.
I just want to beat the hell out of Nick, and we've established this, all right? That's a whole different story. But that sort of appeal, like, that's a big thing you're kind of subtracting from your lineup.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't know what are you supposed to do to counteract that, because Smash Online isn't a bad thing, but it isn't a great experience
it's not suitable for, like, actual competitive stakes. Like, you can't put money on the line in an online match in Smash. Like, it's too unreliable. There's too much lag. Like, it's fundamentally a different experience than playing in person. Like, I've done that. Like, I play primarily online because, you know, I'm a homebody. But I used to organize in-person tournaments, and then I would, sit and play with some of the contestants, and it would feel like the characters wouldn't do what I wanted them to do for a long time. Like, I had to adjust to the new speed, because it's way more responsive. But to me, as someone who is used to the online lag, it felt wrong. So, like, I can't imagine going the opposite way, where it's like you're doing all these fast movements and your character is just not controlling the way it should.
The only way where it could be, I think, beneficial is if they had it almost like, you know how bigger events like the Grammys or just award shows, just have it within a location, but space it out. And it won't have the same appeal because there's not going to have that electricity there from when you win and whatnot. But you know what? I mean, the closest thing to zero ping is going to be the best things, because fighting games, the fact that you have to pay attention to frames and ping, and it's just too much. My brain's not going to be able to do it, but the people who go hard for it, that these things matter. I don't know.
You would need to work with Nintendo. Well, not even. Nintendo would need to work with them, which they routinely don't do. Like, they would need to make adjustments to the way their servers work, or make special special servers or conditions for the tournament environment, and they just don't seem interested in doing anything like that. Like, it was like pulling teeth to get them to even use the game in the tournament. Like, they wanted to use Smash Ultimate in the tournaments, well, Smash 4 even before that, and Nintendo was like, hold on a second, is that okay? I don't know, should we let the super big fighting game tournament use our game as a big showpiece to, market our game as a premier fighting title? I don't know, that seems weird to us. Like, I don't understand that reaction. And like, with Sony now being a big player in it, I mean, they've both been in the industry for a very long time. I'm sure there are avenues of communication between Sony and Nintendo. So, but I'm not sure if they'll actually work better together, or if Sony would prefer that Nintendo be on the outside. Like, I don't know if they'll be trying to pull them in, or if they'll be pushing them out slowly.
You got to keep in mind, Nintendo's still kind of salty about the PlayStation even existing. So that's a concern.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that past them either, yeah.
Also, this is gonna sound hottest take, but I'm saying it. That Nintendo is the equivalent of Scrooge McDuck or even Donald Trump. If they don't make the money, they don't give a damn. If they don't cause controversy to result in money, they don't give a damn. I know that they don't. I know Nintendo doesn't want to be considered the bad guy, but they're the bad guy. We spoke about this. They do not care. It's not. They won't do charity unless it benefits them, right? They still think that they are superior in terms of their first party games, which I'll give it to you. They have some strong first party games and whatnot.
They might be still like
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to beat that Nintendo first party quality bar.
Yeah, but also like, I think I just beef with Nintendo because I'm
Like,
like,
who
why?
don't you beef with though? Like,
No, it's just Nintendo. I don't have a problem with PlayStation or Xbox. It's Nintendo. Nintendo wants to just be like, there's no reason I should be paying Smash right now. If you ask me, should be maximum $40.
it should be.
But yet it's 60.
Yep. It was on sale on Mario Day, I think.
Yes, but that's Smash?
Yeah.
No, Smash was not. It was
sure.
not.
I'm pretty
Yep.
sure it was.
The games that they had on sale, because I was willing to pull the trigger on all of them, was Luigi's Mansion 3, which if you didn't care for Luigi's Mansion, sorry. The Super Mario Maker 2.
It's a good game.
Super Mario Party. And Super Mario Aces. Or Ace. Whatever.
No, Aces, yeah. Super Mario Tennis,
Yeah,
Aces.
That's it. There might be one game I'm slacking on. Smash wasn't there because I was going to buy it. And I was like, nope. I have to actually get a physical copy because I had Best Buy points and they made it the price I wanted it to be at.
Yeah, I mean, that is rough. It's unfortunate that they do that to their customers. It's kind of just price gouging.
Oh,
at that point, yeah.
The fact that you have to freaking do a charity event and it has to be in under their strict rules. We're not doing anything. Like, we're literally raising money. You're not supposed to see a cent of it. But if it doesn't paint you within a certain light or it's not within your terms and conditions,
then they don't let you do it.
It's a problem. Get out of here. No, it's not that big of a deal. You should support your community. And honestly, if you ask me, Smash is a console seller. So you know what? If you
I bought the Wii U and the Switch after Smash was announced. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So if you really wanted to be smart as a business and potentially expand Smash to, I'm not saying it's a new audience, those who support it, but like if somebody just randomly tuned into Evo and they saw what's going on and liked what they saw, if Smash was there, that's an easy sell. You're doing your own advertising and marketing. You don't got to worry about nothing. But no, we got to do it on the good old Nintendo, Kim Jong-un Nintendo. That's what I said. Fight me.
Lampy adds, at the end of the day, Nintendo makes games for everyone, not for a few elite players who get paid to play it. So why would they focus efforts on updating for those few? You've seen other games do it and ruin it for normal players. I mean, I can see where you're coming from in that regard. But like, for Smash in particular, like as popular as that game is, like the community behind like the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the competitive scene, they kind of push it to new heights. Like there are people who like Smash, but like they'll play it and then like they'll put it down, and then like maybe they'll come back and then they'll put it down. The professional players of Smash, like they kind of evangelize that game to a level that makes those new character reveals, you know, trending on the internet every single time, you know, a new character is announced. Like that's not the casual Smash fan. Like that's the elite Smash fan, you know?
Yeah.
Like those are the ones who are obsessing about that, making entire YouTube channels dedicated to that. Like there's a lot more of them out there than I think people like to realize. And the ones who even aren't at that level still like to watch what those guys are doing because it's entertaining to watch it played at that level. So I think Nintendo should actually pay a little bit more attention to that side of it. Like it couldn't hurt them. That's the thing. Like whatever money that they invest into that to get better, you know, results from that community to help them grow their community better and make it more solid and whatnot. All of that feeds back into Nintendo because they'll support Nintendo even more. They'll get more people into it who maybe fall away from it because of the frustrations they have with Nintendo. I just don't see how it hurts. It's Nintendo being just a big monolithic entity that doesn't want to listen to any outside influences.
I mean, but they also, I mean, it's their game. Like if they want to do it their way, they're gonna do it that way. Like they got that power. It's their game.
Yeah.
And I mean what Lampy was saying is there's I don't know if 18 million is the correct amount of Smash players, but yeah, the vast majority of people are playing it for fun that are not competitive, that are not professional. And the people that when I hear about a new like Smash character and the people that I tune into to talk about it aren't professionals. I want to know what someone who likes the original IP thinks about it. I want to know what someone who really enjoys Smash on a casual level thinks about it. Like, it's cool to see it on a professional level, but it is so drastically different than how I would play Smash
Mm-hmm.
that it is basically a different game and it's not interesting to me. I might tune in to be like, oh, cool, what's going on? But that doesn't have that staying power because, again, it's a whole nother experience.
Yeah.
I get that.
I mean, I don't consider myself a hardcore Smash player. I do put hours now that I have my own Switch, but like it's nothing crazy. I don't think I fall into a hardcore. I think I'm in that weird gray area. You know what I mean? I'm not professional. I do enjoy playing online. I do enjoy the competition. I can play with no items. I do love items too, though. You know what I mean? I kind of just fall in the middle. But the way I look at it from this is just like, as a company who are pushing your first party games and whatnot, you should listen to your audience. Don't be tone deaf. And I know it may seem niche, but honestly, if you open the doors, like to allow people to understand, like look at Fortnite or any game that allows open doors in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
There's casuals, there's those who fall in the middle, there's a whole spectrum of players that fall into it. And yet, I think one of the things that allowed people to appreciate the game more is the fact that, or even Rocket League now, you can play with whoever you want, wherever you want. Like, it doesn't make a difference. And the fact that they've listened, they're like, listen, we wanted crossplay for forever and acknowledged it. And even now, when they hear the community saying, this gun's a little weird, or when they ask and stuff like that, it's not like they're not listening or not paying attention, but it's that sort of camaraderie. You feel like you can understand what's going on and see and be felt for a game that's changing. You know what I mean? And I know Smash doesn't change, but you're actually listening. I'm not saying it's not going to change as heavily as like
it's like
an update.
Yeah, it's like balance patches and then the occasional brand new character, which
exactly
changes the meta.
Exactly, but I think if you ignore the people who literally are only buying the game because they truly love it and literally will not play anything else for it, or you have some people who just casually play and may have some concerns, and you just decide, nope, what I say goes because I'm the parent. That's a problem. That's a headache waiting to happen. And Nintendo doesn't care at the moment because, again, they're seen as top tier for family. But honestly, I do think that pushes a lot of people away and leaves a sour taste in their mouth, kind of like applesauce and pound cake.
No, that's sweet. That's the taste in your mouth with apple and pound cake, not sour. Like
Some sweet savoriness.
Do you have like old applesauce in your house? I don't understand why why your applesauce would taste sour. Like doesn't track.
I hate everything about it.
All right, we'll close off that topic. We're actually over time, but do you guys want to take on this final topic? Do you have time in your morning? We could shut it down.
I'll I'm running out of time in my morning, so I will say,
cool.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, cool controller for VR sounds great. Really interested. Super neat. Same problem I always have. When can I afford it? When are there going to be enough games in VR for me to justify it?
Yeah.
Neat as it is.
Yeah, like Sony's new VR controller. They showed pictures. They gave a little tiny rundown of what it looks like. It does seem like they're taking it far more serious than the last one. So like that's what I'll add to that. Anything you want to say about that, Will, before we close things up?
VR is a niche and will continue to be a niche. There's nothing I can say bad about that. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just not the same. And you know what? I don't have a problem with the controller. I don't have a problem with VR. I don't think it's for me though.
Okay, Tommy and Honey Money asking the great questions here. Tommy asking, when will VR gear not make you look stupid? And Honey Money says, when are games going to be good enough to justify the money? Yeah, the first one, maybe not so much. People people are kind of fine looking stupid if they get the experience they want out of it, right? There's a really funny scene in the show I mentioned, Upload, in terms of like VR and looking stupid as well. So like that's a fun time. But yeah, like the software needs to also come hand in hand with the hardware, and that's all going to cost you money. So is it worth it, right?
Yeah.
Short answer.
And, like, that's the thing. Is like the original Xbox didn't explode because the freaking Duke controller was so good. Like the Xbox exploded because of Halo.
Yeah.
And VR doesn't have that and hasn't had that for going on more than one console generation now.
Yeah, there have been numerous iterations on it, and yeah, the tech hasn't gotten to must-play status yet. Someone mentioned Half-Life Alex. Honey Money mentioned Half-Life Alex is the only really good one so far. Yeah, and I definitely want to play that, but like, because it's like the chicken and the egg situation, right? Because you gotta invest in the big thing to get at the one thing you want. One thing isn't enough, no matter how good that one thing is, right? Like you need more of that to justify a purchase. But with that, I think we're gonna go ahead and close things up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Jesse, do you want to let people know where they can find you on the internet and what you'll be doing when they do find you?
Absolutely. You can follow me on my Twitter, which is RexConJesse. You can follow me on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/RexConJesse, where I stream stuff like what I'm going to be doing for Behind Schedule, Mondays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. I try to snag people during their lunch hour. And then I stream Thursday nights with my friend Rainbow Blight, and we started playing Phasmophobia, which is real fun, as I mentioned before. And then tabletop RPG stuff you can find on my website, rexconjesse.com, or my itch page, rexconjesse.itch.io, because I try to keep it real simple when you want to find me.
Sweet. That's what we like to see. How about you, Will? The Will C.
Oh
Blog.
God, I hate it.
Is that? I'm sorry. Is that the Will C. Blogs in this conversation?
I hate to see it. Okay, I'll make it short and simple. Look up Will C Blogs and you'll find me. Twitter, somewhere down there. Honestly, I would say start following my Twitch, twitch.tv/Will C Blogs, because honestly, if Casey's gonna start playing or needs a reason to play Rocket League,
I'm in there.
it's about the situation.
Let's do it.
We had some fun. And obviously I'm readjusting the podcast just because times are working a little weird, but definitely keep up there. I think it might go from a weekly to almost monthly, just because of the fact that I don't really like the format of where it's going, but I'm adjusting it on the fly. But maybe if things start to pick up there, we'll switch things up. And then also catch me every game night. I'm replacing Jerome. No worries.
Nick Jerome Crawford is a thing of the past.
He sounds like an NFL player when you say that. I hate it so much. But I love it. And that's that.
All right, cool. You guys can find me on my Twitter, SigmaGears9. Usually I tweet about whatever I'm going to be streaming, if I'm going to be featured on that stream. But I also might, just share other streams that are going on with like the open party, or like, some of my streaming friends who I think you should check out. After today in the afternoon, I should be on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for Super Smash Sunday, starting at 2:30 p.m. Eastern till 5:30 p.m. And following that, tonight I'll be playing the rest of Little Hope with my girlfriend Kia at about 7:30 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be on my channel. My channel, I believe, hosts the Open Party channel. So Sigma Show on the Sigma channel, Super Smash Sunday on the Open Party channel, Kia and KC on the Sigma channel, right? So it's a sandwich of streaming platforms there.
He said, I want your Sunday.
Lampy also mentions join the top Discord. Yes, the Open Party has a Discord community. Both Jesse and Will are members of it, as well as some of you guys in the chat. Maybe all you guys in the chat, possibly. But if you're not, you definitely go find it and join it. I can't be bothered to post the link right now, but just show up for Super Smash Sunday, and I'll post it then. All right, because we were way over time. But once again, I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you, Jesse, for showing up and co-hosting with me. Thank you, Will, for doing the same. That's it for episode 21. Peace.
Enjoy your day.